Hello. Today I would like to show you my concept for a slime block piston flying machine engine. Most of you are familiar if you've used other versions of Minecraft where they have sticky piston, slime block, sticky piston, slime block, observer, observer, observer. But as you can see, this doesn't really know if it's coming or going, kind of a push me pull you. So in Bedrock Edition this concept won't work. There you go. So to fix this, what you do generally is you replace one of the sticky pistons with a regular piston, like that, and then away it goes. But it's one directional. It will just keep going in the direction that the regular piston is facing. So how do you make this turn around? And that is kind of simple too. On top of the sticky piston, put a regular piston. On top of the regular piston, put a sticky piston. Slime block, slime block. And then what you need to do is the observer, starting on basically the back side of the machine, we raise that up, and then on the front side of the machine we raise this up, and it goes back in this direction. Until it stops again. And then on this side, you reverse that. Basically, you take a piston, again starting on the back side of the machine, you lower that down, that one down, and it goes back in that direction. So this problem is three-part. You have your little engine, and then you'd have a docking station off of each side. On one side it's to raise your observers up, and on the other side it's to lower them down. And so that's what I will be showing you how to make today. And I've gone through a few different variations, and what I will show you is what I think to be the most universal depending on how you want what you want to use this engine for, whether it's a mob pusher, in which case you'd come out 5 slime blocks and then another block off of each side. And actually, if you want something that looks pretty cool, you'd throw on another observer. Where's my observer? And then as it moves through the air, the light off the end will blink, which is kind of cool. Back side of the machine first. And obviously we'd be lowering this down one block, I think. Yeah, this would be down one more block on the ground. Or another possibility, instead of a mob pusher, if you reduce the sides, put a dispenser pointing down with an observer looking up, and then if you fill the dispenser full of TNT. This will launch TNT every time it moves. I do not recommend doing this. Really, I don't recommend actually using this particular model because you will blow up everything. You'll blow up your base. You'll blow up the docking station. It's really dangerous. I don't recommend doing this. Or if you'd rather use the engine to move as a people mover or an animal mover, you come in right next to the engine, you put yourself a minecart, you grab yourself some fence posts, fence post there, some stairs, and then a half slab, and then suddenly you have yourself a people mover. And or you can on that wing you could even have a minecart with a chest if you wanted to move goods back and forth. So you have a mountain base and you want to fly between your mountain base and your zeppelin base that's floating up in the sky, you can do it that way. So again, depending on what you want to use the engine for, the docking stations that I'm going to show you are kind of universal, which are these. So one is to pull the observers up and the other is to push them down. So let's get this going, show you how this works real quick. There we go. And actually we'll just turn this on so it's self-returning. Oh, that's off. Sorry, it was on. Turn it on so it's self-returning. If you're using this as a people mover, I have it so that it automatically stops, and then when you want to go, you hit the button. Yeah. But if you have them set on auto return, this will just keep flying back and forth. And something to be aware of are your tick area, your activation zone basically, which is usually whichever chunk you are in. Redstone will only work 4 chunks out, north, south, east, west. And if you try to build your docking stations outside of that, well, the redstone won't work and it'll break. So that's kind of the only downside with redstone and bedrock. It only works up to a certain point. Okay, so let's turn this off and then I'll show you how to make these. And generally, if you do leave an area, you'll want to make sure that the engines are docked in one of your docking stations. So, for the first docking station, this is for when the observer is in the lowered position and it comes in and you need to raise it up. So first of all, for safety issues, we're going to put another piece of obsidian right on top, just in case things go a little screwy. And then you'll want a block of your choice, come behind, and 1 down, come over 3, come up 1, come over, and then come up 1 again, so that you have that basically. So then on this block, redstone torch, redstone, and then a Peter into a block up, redstone on it. And then on top of this, you'll want a button on the top and a lever on the side. Okay. One dispenser under that block with a hopper pointing into it. Like that. And then put one random item in the dispenser. Have a comparator coming out, taking a reading on the hopper, and then a repeater firing into a block. And that repeater that's in there needs to be on 4 ticks. And then you're going to want 2 more repeaters. Boom, boom. Again, both of them on 4 ticks. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow this observer to power this docking station on this side through the slime block onto the ground. And I recommend making those blocks other than grass. But for this situation, that's what we're going to do. And so the signal will come around into a torch tower. Like that. On that side. And then on this side, we are going to come up one more at that sort of angle. We're going to come out 2 with some half slabs. And then over like that with half slabs. Over here, we're actually going to, off of that one, come over. And then since we don't need it, I'm just going to get rid of that one. Well, we're going to put a repeater on that half slab, full tick, and that's going to go into a sticky piston facing down. So that's what's going to pull up this back observer. Over here, we're going to have redstone, 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 and comparator doing that. On top of, from the torch tower, on top of your last block, we're going to do redstone, but then we don't want these to connect, so we're going to put a block to keep them from connecting there. And then over on this side, we come up one more block, redstone, and then again, don't really want those to connect, so we put up one more block there. We switch to a half slab, come over, like that, like that, redstone all through there. So where you have this block, which is right above that repeater, come over with a half slab And that is then going to go into a piece of obsidian, which is pretty much right on top of the slime, which is why we're using obsidian. So you want redstone there. No, 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 no. You'll want a repeater there. And the redstone on the obsidian. And that leads into your double piston extender. So, one there. And one there, basically. So it's up above. Double piston extender. Alright. And so then next to this top one, the block, you have redstone, redstone, and then right here off the tip, a repeater at full ticks. And then kind of block over your hopper. Alright, so to make this work, either hit the button or just to leave it running, leave your lever on. What'd I miss? Oh, silly. Don't use a dispenser. Use a dropper. Dispenser. What was I thinking? Dropper. I hate where they put that button. I am constantly hitting that. Dropper. With item. Let's try that. Yeah, helps when you use the right pieces. Okay, so now then this is going to come over to the other docking bay. And end there. And so now for this one. Alright. So in this case, right under this dispenser, we are just going to need a sticky piston to start with. Actually, yeah, starting with the obsidian. Alright, so then back on a diagonal from that, solid block, out of the solid block, a repeater on 4 ticks. On top of this is going to be a piece of redstone. Now on this side we are going to have a separate observer to power this rather than the machine itself. And that, oh, that's right there. And that is going to be looking at that, just like that. So when the machine comes in, it will fire a signal, and to turn it off, come on, we can pull it up with a sticky piston with a button on one side and a lever on the other. There we go. So then when we want to turn it off, we raise it up and no signal will be fired through, but when we want it to just continuously run, we lower it down. Easy enough. Alright, so this repeater is going into a dropper circuit. I'm sorry, I forget what it's called, but we're going to come up with a dropper. We're going to come over with a dropper. We are going to be coming back with a dropper. And then we are going to be putting a hopper. Just pointing straight down with one item in here. This is because we're using this kind of a setup rather than like what we did over there, because when this is coming in on this side, it's basically hitting twice because of how the pistons work, and so this observer will fire off at least twice, and you don't want all your pistons to be mashing things when they're not supposed to. So basically the first fire will get the item through to here, and the second firing will bring it back up to here without re-triggering any of your pistons. Yep. And so then we are going to take a reading off of the hopper with a comparator. And that will be going into a Twitch tower. And that will also feed down below. Oh, I don't like using that block. It'll feed down below. And this is easier to build without the engine being here. We need a repeater coming off of that block. Redstone, redstone, redstone. And again, that will go into a bit of a comparator clock thing. Like that. Redstone, redstone, redstone. Repeater on 3 ticks. 3 ticks. Oh, my bad. This repeater back here. 3 ticks. 3 ticks. And that will basically create the delay on firing this one, which is what we need. Fire the back end first, then fire what would be the front. And that's for the bottom situation. Now we do the top, the up and over. We come, can I do this? Yep, there we go. 1, 2, 3, and then a solid block above the piston. And then here in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on this one, we will be coming up a block. On this one, we will be doing a repeater. On 4 ticks. And that is feeding into our double piston extender again. So start with a sticky piston, and in this case, then do a regular piston underneath. Like that. And now on this side, we want a half slab, basically coming off where that piston is, and then a piece of obsidian, basically on top of where the slime block winds up being. On top of the half slab, we're going to do a repeater. And then we will be doing a piece of redstone. And I believe that is it. Let's give it a test. And now on this side, to test it, you do this twice or once. A lot of times, because of how that cycles around, you have to do that twice. But let's see how it goes. Beautiful. Alright. So let's try the mob pusher part. 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe we can do 5. And okay, that. On this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that. Come here, slime. Come here. And generally, you'd have a drop chute before. Oh, he turned before your docking stations, so that as it's pushing the mobs, they'll just fall over the edge before they get to your docking station. And like I say, as long as you are within range with your chunks, you can just have this thing fly back and forth. If you take one of your docking stations and you rig it to redstone to turn on and off, activate the machines with some levers. And then you can set them up to push mobs all over the place. And you can even rig up redstone off the tip of a wing, or even a redstone lamp, so that you can tell when the machines are docked or when they're not, which is useful if you are required to kind of stay in one chunk while the machines are running. Because of range issues. And then eventually they'll just run through the gate. then to turn them off, you just turn them off. And you can tell when they're docked because the lights turn on. Alright, well, again, hope you found this video useful, and see you later.